Hello, I am B. I am powerful, confident. I am creative. I have great ideas. I am motivated and I am willing to learn. And today, I am ready to learn the equation. Are you ready to learn with me? Let's start together. Let's do an application for equations. The two bees produce 9 honey jars daily. This bee produces 6 of these 9 honey jars. And the remaining are produced by Mrs. B. Now, how many honey jars does Mrs. B produce? In order to know the answer, let's check the number of jars produced by Mrs. B in order to have 9 jars in total. Now, if Mrs. B produces 1 jar, then both bees produce 7 jars. But there are not 9. Now, if Mrs. B produces 2 more jars, now both bees produce 8 jars in total. But there are still not 9. Now, if 3 jars are produced by Mrs. B, and her friend already produced 6 jars, now they both produced 9 jars in total. And that's it. B produces 3 honey jars. But instead of all this checking, and in order to know the number of jars produced by Mrs. B, we just add up 6 jars produced by the first bee and the number of jars produced by Mrs. B in order to get 9 honey jars. But now, instead of drawing B every time, let's write the letter B. And this is the equation. 6 plus B is equal to 9. And here, the letter B represents the number of jars produced by Mrs. B. At first, B was an unknown, and we didn't know its value. But after checking and trying, we saw that the number of jars produced by Mrs. B is equal to 3. And we can write B is equal to 3 honey jars. So, in order to solve the equation 6 plus B is equal to 9, we need to find the value of B. And if we add 6 to this value, we get 9. And here, B is represented by the 3 honey jars. And we can substitute B by 3. And we say 6 plus 3 is equal to 9. And B is equal to 3. We can also represent our work by using the number line. And here is the number line. Mrs. B produces some honey jars, but we don't know how many jars. Her friend produces 6 jars, and they both produce 9 honey jars. Now, in order to find the number of honey jars produced by Mrs. B, or in other words, in order to find the unknown B in this equation, 6 honey jars produced by the first bee, plus B, the number of honey jars produced by Mrs. B, is equal to 9 honey jars in total. And to find B is to start counting from 6 and move forward to the right toward 9. And then count the steps. Here we have the first step, 2, and 3. And we reach 9. So we move 3 steps to reach 9. So B is equal to 3 honey jars. And Mrs. B produces 3 honey jars. Now, we can also use another way in order to know the number of honey jars produced by Mrs. B. We already know that both bees produce 9 honey jars, and the first bee produced 6 of these 9 honey jars. Now, in order to know the number of jars produced by Mrs. B, we just take out the 6 honey jars from the 9 honey jars, and the remaining jars will be the number of jars produced by Mrs. B. And since we take out 6 from 9, we subtract. We subtract 9 honey jars minus 6 honey jars to get 3 honey jars. And Mrs. B produces 3 honey jars. So, in order to solve the equation 6 plus B is equal to 9 by the second way or by subtraction technique, we can take out 6 from 9. Or in other words, we can write B is equal to 9 minus 6. And 9 minus 6 is equal to 3. So B is equal to 3. Now we can substitute B by 3. And 6 plus 3 is equal to 9. So 3 is the solution of this equation. We can also represent our work by using the number line. And here is the number line. We know that both bees produce 9 honey jars. And we also know that the first bee produces 6 honey jars. Now, in order to find the number of jars produced by Mrs. B, we just take out these 6 honey jars from the 9 honey jars. In other words, we find the unknown B. And since we take out 6 from 9, then B is equal to 9 honey jars minus the 6 honey jars produced by the first bee. And to do this process, we just start from 9 and move backward to the left towards 6. Then count the steps. Here we have the first step, the second step, and the third step. So we move 3 steps to reach number 6. And we deduce that B is equal to 3. 3 honey jars. And Mrs. B produces 3 honey jars. And today we learned together equations in single-digit numbers by using addition technique and subtraction technique. We also use the symbols plus, minus, and equal. We'll meet in the next video. Bye-bye.